Oh, didn't expect me to be back, huh? Hey everybody, LeeSpeed here. Been a month. You know, again, that's typical. Geez, I almost should say, hey, expect a new video every once a month. That's just how this shit seems to be going now, doesn't it? But yeah, I kind of hesitated to record a duel with this deck, basically. Because this was the deck thing that I was going to show next after the Gustos. And honestly, I have not used this deck very often these days. In fact, I don't even remember the last time I used it besides, like, when I battled this guy. It's rated RK. I guess he watches my videos because we were actually having a discussion about this whole ordeal with the windups and stuff like that. Like, if you actually want to read the chat, you can. But basically, you know, I took this about a couple days ago, and this is just with a windup deck, my hunterless windup deck, because this has no windup hunter in the main deck, so there is no hand looping shenanigans. If people don't already know about that, I guess I don't know, I don't feel like explaining too much, but let's just say it involves 3 cards. Mainly 3 cards. Windup Hunter, Windup Rat, and Windup Carrier Zenmaity. I run 2 of the cards that would normally make it, but, well, the purpose of Rat is to help make rank 3 Ixies much easier, because with Rat, you can bring back any windup from the graveyard by putting it to defense. So, you know, and then there's some other shit that I actually run in here too. I run a couple windups that people don't use. Like, I don't think people even use. Like, I saw it one at a time, but it was like an opponent that, like, he was also using windups that he also had that card, so that was kind of cool. Windup Dog. He's pretty much a level 3 windup that can become level 5. Which is not bad at all, and plus you can't bottomless trap hole him like you would to Windup Shark, because he has 1500 attack, and Windup Dog has only 1200. So yeah, can't bottomless him, so you can't stop his effect from really going on unless you have Effect Bailer, but even then it's like, I don't know. Like, the thing is with windups, I mean, I remember the days when windups were pretty fun to play. Like, I love the concept of winding them up, activating their effects, and then they don't work no more because you have to rewind them up somehow. And there were cards that would allow you to do that. Use something like Compulsory Evacuation Device, use Book of Moon, use Windup Zenmeister to flip your monsters face down or remove them from the field, and then when they come back, you can activate their effects again. That was kind of the whole gist of the windup deck back then. There was no hand loop. It was all about the whole rank 5 Ing or whatever, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand people's hate of windups, and honestly, if they weren't so busted, I would probably make it in real life, you know what I mean? But in the end though, I just went against building the deck, not just because it's expensive, but because I don't think it was worth all the hate I was gonna get for it. Like, I'd rather in the end make a deck that I really, really want to make, that I've used a variant of for a long time, or something that's somewhat competitive and very fun to play. So that's why the 2 decks that I currently have in real life right now are Chaos Dragons and Gustos. Well, actually, what's kind of cool is that one deck's hyper offensive and the other's hyper defensive, pretty much. So it's like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as like deck strategies go. So I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, I would use the windup deck. Like, if I had the money to make the windup deck, I would make the build that I have that did not focus on the Hunter loop, but it would basically it would reflect on the days of Generation Force, when what the winds would mainly focus on is the rank 5 Xyzs, or if you run stuff like Gen X Ally Birdman, you can use Synchro monsters too. So, you know, you have fun stuff like that. I mean, there was no real broken stuff. I mean, if you want to count Wind Up Hunter being a broken card, but even then, he wasn't that busted because the cards that made him really busted weren't present before Order of Chaos. So, I don't know. I mean, there were a few cards that I didn't even use. Like, Wind Up Hunter was one of those cards that I never even used. Like, I heard about the Hunter Loop, but, like, I never really like, I kind of looked at it, like, I kind of found out what it does, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to bother with it, because I just wanted to stick with my deck build and not use something with, like, wind-ups. You know, like, back when wind-up Inzectors were pretty popular, like, the combination of wind-ups and Inzectors in one deck. I remember when that was pretty popular, and I hated it, honestly, because why? Why would you combine one of my favorite archetypes with an archetype that could blow up cards on your field at almost no cost? So, I mean, essentially what you've got is like, oh, I got windups to take cards out of your hand, and I got Inzectors to blow up cards on your field. So, no matter what, your cards aren't safe, motherfuckers, or whatever. Sorry for the language there, but, you know, I don't know. That's what I heard one time, but I don't know. That just seems like what people would do, and that's what people did do. And honestly, I was just kind of tired of it. I mean, I didn't even use the loop. I didn't even use Wind Up Rabbit. Wind Up Rabbit was like a tech I had. I had it in the side deck. I had like one or two because I was mainly using the other windups. I didn't see how Wind Up Rabbit was going to be that useful. I mean, at least with the build I was running at the time, and I later found out, like one time I decided, hey, let's put in a Wind Up Rabbit. Let's replace, like, Juggler with Rabbit, and then I found out later that, oh my god, this card is so amazing or so annoying at the same time, because, oh, the opponent wants to try to get rid of the Rabbit with a card effect. I'm just going to activate the effect and banish her until the next turn. And you could do it all the time. So if you summon it and they go Torrential Tribute, and then, you know, I'm just going to go, hey, I'll activate her effect, get her off the field, and then she'll come back next turn. So, yeah, that's really what's busted about that. And if you had a card like Wind Up Factory, which is pretty much like their Black Whirlwind, because Black Whirlwind would allow Blackwings to add other Blackwings to their hand from the deck. This is essentially what a wind-up factory basically is. And you can run 3 of them as opposed to just, you know, where you're only allowed to run, like, one Black Whirlwind. So that's kind of annoying. And with Wind-Up Rabbit, if you had Rabbit and Factory on the field, you could keep activating the effect of Factory once every turn. Every turn. Don't keep this in mind. Every turn, because it's the once per turn effect. You could go Wind-Up Rabbit's effect, banish it, and then you get to add a wind-up to your hand. You can add a Magician, you can add a wind-up Juggler, wind-up Rat. Like, you can see all the different wind-ups I had in my hand. You can activate them. And now, I know what you might be thinking, wind-up Juggler? What's that? I'm like, wind-up Juggler is one of the older wind-ups in Generation 4. It's like super rare, if I recall right. And basically, he's kind of like the DD Warrior Lady of the deck because of how his effect is very similar to DD Warrior Lady, because after damage calculation, you get rid of the opponent's monster if you choose to, but it does not banish or remove from play. It just destroys. So, you know, that's kind of cool. I mean, Juggler was kind of my answer to getting rid of big monsters that my windups cannot run over, because they have low attack. So they have no easy way to just get rid of a monster by brute strength alone. I mean, unless you use, like, Wind Up Soldier to a certain extent, but even then there were bigger beaters like Stardust Dragon that have, like, way more attack than anything that you can bust out. But that's why the whole gimmick with the whole wind-ups, like, you would have stuff like Cyber Dragon and Wind Up Soldier, you know, using its effect to make himself level 5. Then you can make rank 5 EXCs that have a lot more attacking power and very powerful effects. So, you know, windups had that little gimmick going for them too, and that was one of their pretty cool features. I mean, they were one of the few that could spam rank 5s with relative ease. Well, that's why I use Wind-Up Shark, not because of how broken he is, but he was just so useful in making rank 5s, because essentially he's another option to make rank 5 EXCs. So that's why I used him, not because, he helps with the Wind-Up Hunter loop, because honestly, I did do it before, and I was like, wow, that's broken, and I haven't used it that often, and I stopped using it after a while. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to be real technical about this, I played windups like before they were cool, but the thing is, lately I haven't been playing the deck because I know people hate the deck, and I even have to tell people that I'm not using the windup loop just so that people aren't pissed off at me, because honestly, I want to try to win a game where it isn't just that. Like, I want to focus on more strategies, because if you focus just on the hunch loop strategy and they somehow stop you, there's nothing you can do. With this deck, you have more options. As opposed to just one move, you can have more plays. In fact, that's how I think most decks should be like. You know, they should have more than one play. Just because if they know your one play, you can at least have another one to fall back on. So, I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, that's why I use some of the older windups, because you can't... Well, no one uses them. I mean, I kind of use them because no one's using them. And plus, I think they're somewhat useful. And... I mean, if you look at the overall concept of the windups, they're like freaking cute little wind-up toys. I mean, how can wind-up toys be so dangerous, huh? Well, people proved how dangerous they really are, especially when Order of Chaos came around and they threatened to take cards out of your hand, or at least 3 cards. 3 of the windups tend to do that. I mean, the rest don't even have much involvement with it except Wind-Up Shark, because he helps speed the process up a little bit. Because when you summon a wind-up monster, you can special summon it right from your hand, and once each turn, you can make him gain a level, make him level 5, or make him lower a level, become level 3. So it's pretty busted actually, because especially when you can run 3, because you can make rank 3s, 4, or 5s easily. So like, let's say you summon Wind-Up Soldier, he's a level 4, and then you can special summon Shark. You can make both Soldier and Shark level 5, and then make a rank 5 in that same turn. You use 2 cards to make one big rank 5. So, I don't know, I mean, I guess as long as you're not... I mean, if you have Wind-Up Factory, you get to add another Wind-Up. You can add another Wind-Up Shark for another attempt to rank 5 EXCs later on. So, you know, it's pretty busted that way, but... I don't know, I think it's more fun when you're not using the Wind-Up loop, but at the same time, I do think that Wind-Ups need to get hit somehow. But I know they're not going to get hit for a while, because the OCG does not have every Wind-Up card that we have. They do not have Wind-Up Rabbit. They do not have Wind-Up Shark, because those are TCG exclusives. I believe they recently got Wind-Up Zenmaines, which is a rank 3 Wind-Up that is very pricey, very overused, I guess. But, you know, it's a pretty damn good card. If you use it at the right time, of course, its effect is very good. Protect himself from being destroyed, and then you can blow up a card on the field. That's pretty much how Zenmaines work. And with 2100 defense... not that easy to get over with just one monster. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you guys like this video, I don't know, if you think the topic that I talked about was interesting, you know, leave your own feedback on what you think about the wind-ups and stuff like that. Like, your own experiences with them. And, you know, like, do you think that wind-ups would be fun again later on if things got banned or limited? I don't know. Like, leave your thoughts below. And next time, I'm going to show off one of my all-time favorite decks on Duel Network, besides like Gustos and Chaos Dragons, the GAGAGAs, GAGAGA Chaos to be precise, a deck that I was working on kind of on my own because I didn't have that good of a reference. I had one reference, but then I mainly built it. I had like different text for the deck, and I'll show you later on. So look forward to that as my next Duel Network video. Peace out, guys.